You know, I was at that moment broadcasting as I had been before. I was the biggest thing in right-wing radio. The biggest thing in right-wing radio. Even Glenn Beck himself used to say, Preston Pepper is the inspiration. I was riding high. And then I met a certain woman who bills herself as the queen of the right, Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter is nothing of the sort. Ann Coulter is a double agent, a Mata Hari working for the liberals to bring America, the Republican Party, and God down. Doesn't get much worse than that. After she dumped me, I fell into the bottomless pit of alcoholism. I wanted to fade away. I didn't want to see anybody. I was living over a barn out in the horse country in Long Island. But one person didn't want me to fade away, and that was the love of my life, Bubbles McAdoo, the jolly socialite from the Hudson Valley, who in her younger days was known as the Doris Duke of Dutchess County. She sent her manservant Othello up to fetch me, and he knocked on the door. I came out there, he said, "You're coming with me, boss." I said, "Like hell I am," and I took a swing at him. I was a pretty good amateur boxer, but in another life, Othello had been the welterweight champion of the world, and I woke up in a shower in Eagle's Claw, her magnificent mansion on the Hudson River, rubbing my jaw and going, oh my God. For the next 6 weeks, they spent their time sobering me up. And when that was done, they brought me into the great lady's presence. A woman I hadn't seen in 40 years. A woman who I had met one tender night in Paris, the capital city of love.
We are listening.
She said, "You're looking great, Pep." You know, I found out later that she'd always been a big Preston Pepper fan, and that was quite something because in her staunch Republican family, most of the people had preferred Rush Limbaugh, and I don't blame them. The fat man, who is a friend of mine, put a hell of a show back then, but not sweet Bubbles. And I'm going to tell you something about Bubbles McAdoo. When a woman like Bubbles McAdoo gets a bee in her bonnet for something, be it a puppy, or a kitten, a racehorse, an idea, or a man, nothing in this world is going to keep her from getting what she wants. She took a look at me and she said, "You're looking great, Pep, but we don't have time right now for small talk. You got a job interview downtown at Rockland World Radio with Mr. Richard Quinn." And she took me down there, and there I was, and I was shaking, you know. I'd been drinking pretty hard for about 6 months, and Richard Quinn looked at me and he said, "I know who you were, but I'm afraid of what you could still be." And that's when Bubbles said, "Don't you worry, Richard." He said, "You know, we're not a big broadcasting outfit like Fox or NBC, but we got aspirations of winning the Super Bowl. We're just looking for a quarterback." And that's when Bubbles McAdoo said, "Richard, just have Alex dust off a space in the trophy cabinet. You got your quarterback." And that's how Pep Talk came into this world.
On that note, we are taking a break.
You can't put a price on true love. But in the end, every little girl has a dream. And though over time the details may change, one thing still remains the same. The feeling she gets walking down that aisle. Come experience your dream at Gurney's Inn in Montauk.
I received a phone call. I was at work, and really caught me off guard. He said to me, "You have breast cancer, I'm sorry."
He said, "You have breast cancer." And I immediately said, "I'm going to live and not die." And he said, "You're not going to die, you're going to live." And I said, "I'm going to live, I'm not going to die." And he said, "You're not dying, you're living." And I said, "Great. I just needed for us to be on the same page. And now that we are, what's next?"
Women who are told about their breast reconstruction options report feeling in control and experiencing a higher quality of life after cancer.
The best compliment I ever get is when someone says to me, "You had breast cancer?" They look at your chest, "Did you have operations?" I said, "Yeah, bilateral mastectomy and reconstruction." No way. That's the best compliment.
Before you undergo surgery for breast cancer, get the facts. Make sure you know your breast reconstruction options. For more information, visit broaddayusa.org.
When you buy a car, we're always sure to point out all the safety features. But when it comes down to it, the most important safety feature in any car is an aware driver.
When you drive distracted, you might miss out on a whole lot more than just me. So hands on the wheel and eyes on the road, okay?
This message is brought to you by the New York State Automobile Dealers Association and its 1,000 franchise new car and truck dealers statewide. Please visit your local dealer in-store and online to learn more about distracted driving and how to stay safe behind the wheel.
Every day is a victory lap. Do not text and drive.
On the American Dream Show at Gurney's in Montauk, Mr. Preston Pepper.
Yes, that's who I am.
Preston Pepper, I don't know what to say. Would you mind enlightening us a little bit about whatever you want to talk about?
Well, one of the people in the peanut gallery had said something about how I see the United States' future. It's bleak, boys and girls, it's bleak. Unless we get the kind of man in the White House who's ready to run things right, we're doomed. Do you realize as I speak, 40,000 people will lose their homes to foreclosure? 40,000 people in 1 minute. That's more than most towns. How we can continue like this, I do not know. You know, I was so disenchanted. I was so depressed that during Lent this year, I gave up hope. That's what I did. I gave up hope.
Well, you had given up drinking already.
Oh yeah, I cut off the hooch. I'm clean and sober. I have to be. America depends on me so much nowadays. And my shadow cabinet, Steve, the truck driving son of America. We lost Rory. It's been a bad year. Been a very bad year. But we will prevail. We will continue to soldier on. That's the way it is. This is America. This is the country, the greatest country of all, where even the one-legged man must stand on his own 2 feet. That's the way it is, Ingrid. We will not be cast down. We will rise from the ashes like a phoenix, and things will get good again somehow, but I don't know how and I don't know when. I'm not going to make book on it.
Obamacare. Yes or no? Is it a good thing? Is it not a good thing?
You know, I've lived under a lot of systems of health care, and I'll answer you like this. In the United States, health care is like a dysentery ward with pay toilets. In Europe, you've got a dysentery ward with free toilets, but only 35% of them are working at one time. I have the feeling Obamacare is going to be like, it's going to be like a dysentery ward with pay toilets, but 75% of them are not going to be working. That's how I feel. That's what I got to say. There's nothing more to be said about that. I don't use all this fancy medical care. I could afford to, you know, but I prefer to go see Doc Ryan, he's the family doctor who operates in our little town. I can't divulge the name of the town because I don't want a lot of deadbeats showing up with their hands out. I'll just say one thing about my town. It's the perfect place for somebody like me. 90% of the people there are in the witness protection program. The other 10% are trying to get in. It's conveniently located right between Sing Sing and West Point, so that's just about the perfect location for somebody in politics.
Preston Pepper, politics is obviously your passion.
Well, yes, that and bicycle polo.
Bicycle polo.
I picked that up, you know, when I took a wrong turn in Miami. I was going to the highline matches. I love sports. I love all the sports, you know. Actually, my big passion is American football. Bubbles said to me, you ready for this? You know, we had the game out there. We had a Super Bowl party last year, and I was cheering, and Karl Rove and Clarence Thomas, another great friend of mine, was there. You know, Clarence Thomas and I are just like that. You have never seen anything like Clarence Thomas. You have not seen natural rhythm until you see Clarence Thomas tap dancing on a copy of the U.S. Constitution. It's a sight to be seen. This guy is just amazing. We're great friends, and you know, Bubbles comes down and she's watching the boys having a great time, and she says to me, Pep, I never knew you were such a fan of football. And she says, you know, I forgot at Christmas time, but your birthday's coming up. I think I'm going to get you an NFL franchise. You know, That's my great passion. But my great passion really is people. I love people.
And obviously, you love to talk to them through different mediums.
Of course! And that's why I was so angry when
And
they
that's
didn't.
why Preston Pepper is on the American Dream Show.
Preston Pepper is anywhere he can be so he can reach out to the people of America with his message, truth and hope. That's why I wanted to be the vice presidential candidate, not that pipsqueak, Paul Ryan. You know, Paul Ryan is so stupid, he thought Voltaire invented electricity.
But were you born in this country?
Yes, I was, but...
It is very important.
well, it is important. It depends. You know, I was born in this country, but I didn't stay here too long.
Well, that's all right, as long as you were born here, and obviously otherwise, there is always a way to...
Yeah, there's always a way. Where
There's
there's a
always
will,
a
there's a way. What I am just trying to say, Ingrid, to sum this up, is I would have been a heck of a candidate for vice president. And the reason is I got empathy. I got empathy. I can go out there and just bang, pump a little flesh and say, what's your name? I'm Preston Pepper. What do you need? I'll get it for you. Then what I do is I reach in my pocket and I pull out one of these cards, you know. I got a hell of a card, and the people take the card and they take it home. You know what? They're too intimidated. They never call me back. That is the key in politics, a great card. Hand it out. Nobody will ever call you
Preston
back.
Pepper, you are verbal, very verbal. Where are you going with your way of your ability to express yourself? Where are you going? You are now on the Dream Show here in Montauk. You have your talk show.
Well, I'm doing a play. I've decided to become an actor. You know, my good friend Marlon Brando was always saying, Pep, you could have been one of the great ones. You could be greater than me. And I always said, Marlon, nah, politics is my bag. And he said, well, then you better get a brand new bag, as James Brown was fond of saying. And, you know, nowadays I've decided I'm going to act. I'm doing a play up in my little town, and it's going to be Key Largo. I play an Italian gangster. Yeah, I can play anything, you know. My acting teacher, Vanessa Redgrave, you know, Bubbles flew her in. She said, Pep, I don't want you studying with one of the local hacks. You know, Vanessa and I are this far apart on politics, but when it comes to the theater, we're like that. She says, Pep, when I close my eyes, I see the American Olivier. You know, and that's quite something, you know, it's quite something, the American Olivier. Can you imagine? Little Preston Pepper, the American Olivier. I mean, I'm getting ready to play the Dane, you know. I'm a little old for it, you know, but maybe I'll play King Lear, I don't know.
King Lear, I could see you as King Lear.
Yeah, I could too, but there's no money in that, so I'll probably play something else.
Well, obviously, Bubbles is going to make it happen.
Bubbles is always going to make it happen. Nobody argues with Bubbles.
I think you're in love with Bubbles.
Oh, I'm in love with Bubbles. Just the sound of that name, Bubbles McAdoo.
Preston Pepper, I am going to say goodbye to you. Thanking you for coming to Montauk, being on the American Dream Show. I hope, and so does my team, that you are going to find your American dream, whatever that might be. I can see you talking about politics on national television.
Oh, I do too. We're just
So can you guys, right? So let's say goodbye and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Ingrid.